Bow, 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 from my head down to my toe. I love my little bow. Bow, 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 everywhere I go. You know I love my bow.
Hi, welcome to Joyful DIYs. I'm Joyful Day. Each week, I upload a new DIY based on your votes in the comment section, so keep them coming. This week is part 3 of my Clown Lolita DIY. I'm going to be doing the accessories. I'm going to start off by making a head bow, and it is, I want to say, 1.5 feet, so probably 3 feet in total length, so that I could fold it over about 1.5 feet. Let me just measure real quick. Yeah, well actually it's 1 foot both sides. So measure out a 2-foot rectangle by 8 inches and then cut off one side. And so how I make a bow like this is folding it this way and that way and leaving a little part of it overlapped, but it needs to be inside out. Folding it this way and then that way. And then I'll sew a straight stitch on this side and sew a straight stitch on this side, and this will be a bow. And don't forget to backstitch, just because you don't want this to come unraveled. Just take all my edges off, my end strings off. So I just cut off all my end strings and then flip it inside out. And so the nice side will be facing out. And you can just fill this up with like maybe 5 or 6 bags. Or whatever stuffing you might have. And bam, here's my beautiful bow. This looks like it could easily make wristlets. So this edge is pretty nice and even, and so I'm just going to cut up to that edge and cut off this part as well, and that will easily make 2 wristlets. So to cut off the edge, I'm just cutting off the uneven edge. This one is probably more than 4 times my wrist size. As long as you have double or more than double for your wrists, it'll make enough ruffle to make it work. Just take off this weird edge because we don't want that. Now that I have this all trimmed down, I'm going to cut it in half up the side here. And how I make my wristlets is I just fold down one side to make an elastic sleeve, and the other side I just fold up once and then I fold it up one more time and do a rolled hem so that this part will look nice and it won't pucker. I'm going to sew right along this rolled hem where the two fabrics meet as closely as I can to that tiny edge right here. And then on this side, of course, I'm just going to fold it and then do a straight stitch. I'm going to look for about 1/2 inch on the fold there. So I'll do this one and I'll show you what I mean. So now you just safety pin one side of the elastic to one side of it and start squishing the safety pin that's attached to the other side of the elastic and squeeze it through so that you have one of these. And this is a little wristlet. So what I'm going to do is zigzag stitch both sides of this where the elastic ends meet, and then I will be sewing those two edges together to make the little wristlet. I'm just doing this part because I don't want the elastic to pop back through after I sew this together. So I'm just pulling it out, doing a few back and forth stitches. Okay, so now here's the little wristlet, and I'm turning it inside out, and then I'm going to sew up this little edge here. And now you have a cute little wristlet. So I'm going to have 2 of these, and I'm going to do the neck collar, as well as finish that head bow. So I'll be doing 2 of these, finish the neck collar, and then do the head bow. I also cut off about 1.5 feet of material, and it's just like maybe 1.5 inches thick. And so I'm folding this in half, and then I'm going to turn it inside out, because this will be the center part for my bows. It'll look kind of like this, and then I'll be able to wrap that around the center section of all my bows. So I'm making this right now, and I'm just going to do a straight stitch all the way down to kind of make this into a loop, and then I'll attach a safety pin and push the safety pin through to the other end to turn it inside out. And even on this, you do want to backstitch, because you definitely don't want it to come undone. Now that this is like that, I'm just going to attach a safety pin right to that threaded edge, so that you have a little bit more stability. It's not going to just like come unraveled on you. And then you stick the safety pin inside of the sleeve and then pull it through itself, kind of like that. This is also how I do like the little ties or ribbons. See? It's all done. I lost footage of how I cut this, so I just wanted to show you a little bit. I cut out 3 inches here, and then I let it be for about 6 inches, and then cut a straight line to this edge, and then about 6 inches here, cut a straight line to that edge, and that's how I have those square tips. And then after I have all of the neck pieces cut out, I take the squared edge, roll it down once, roll it down again, and then that's how I do my rolled hems. And I just go straight from here to here with the rolled hem, and then from there to there with the rolled hem, once I got this part all cut out right. Now I have all of these edges roll hemmed, and I want to sew these together. So what I did was lay them out together to where they would have a point at every other empty spot. I don't know if you understand what I mean, but there's points at every other spot. So where there's a flat spot here on this material, there's a point at this part. So that's how I wanted the material to look when it's done. And what I've decided to do is line up these edges to where the nice sides are facing each other, and have that inner, with the nice sides facing each other, you should be facing towards an outer side. The not so nice side is facing up and also down towards the sewing machine. And what I'm doing is I'm lining these up how I want them. So this is how I want them, to where the nice sides are right here facing each other, and this is the sewn edge. Wait, this is not a nice side. Okay, so now the nice sides are facing each other, and these edges are lined up just how I want them. A point here, a point here, a point here, and all the way around. And so what I'm going to do is just straight stitch these two inner curved edges together, and then I can flip them inside out when I'm done. So I'm going to straight stitch just a regular straight stitch around this corner, around this curved edge, and then I'm going to create another line of that same stitch around this corner edge here so that I can use that for an elastic sleeve. And so I'm going to be leaving about a 1-inch gap at the end of one of these. So like right here, I'll leave the gap, sew along the whole edge, and leave the gap. So like right here, I'll leave a gap, and then I'll sew along the whole edge and stop here so that I can still put the elastic sleeve through both of those. Sewn too. And this last one can be sewn completely, but this first one has to be left open. So this is how I'm putting it on here. Don't forget to backstitch. So right here I'm leaving the open spot so that I can attach the elastic through there. And now I'm just sewing along another straight stitch parallel to the line that I just made. Maybe a 1/4 inch over. And this way that'll give me the gap that I need for that elastic sleeve right there. Because I don't want the neck one to be too tight, I'm just setting it around my neck loosely, and that's where I'm going to cut this elastic piece. Put my 2 safety pins on like I have been this whole time. And now I can put it inside that hole that I left in the elastic sleeve section and pinch it through. Now see, I've gotten some elastic in there right now. To make my little bows, I take a little piece of fabric, fold it inside out, and make these 2 little tiny bows. And to make these, all I'm going to do is straight stitch sew both of these edges down. I'm just going to sew both of these edges down with a straight stitch. Make sure that these 2 edges, though, overlap just slightly. just like this, and now I just flip it inside out and make sure to poke the corners. So flipping it inside out and poking the corners. And here is one of my cute little bows. That's a little mini bow for my wristlet. Now I'll do the same thing to the other one, and then I will show you how I put these bows together. Okay, now I can stuff my bow. I have decided to go ahead and use this pink tool that I had left over from a previous project, and I've decided to stuff this in here because I am completely out of plastic bags, and this totally worked on that last bow. And so I'm just going to fill this up with as much tulle as I need. To make myself a substantial bow. See, this works. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. So now I have that, and I have these two. So now I have this one and two of these, and these will go for my wrists, and this will go for my hair bow. So what I decided to do is sew up this back just a little bit, because I just now tried to put the bow on right here and the back popped open. So I'm going to do that. This doesn't have to be like real pretty or anything, so all I'm doing is just a straight stitch down this back opening as close as I can. This is not going to be easy, of course. So that did that for us. So now I can put this loop, and here's my hair bow. And then I have plenty of a tail on the end of this to do both of those other bows. So now I'm just going to sew a couple of times along this little edge on the tail. And here's my hair bow. Clipped off the tail, and I'm going to clip off these extra strings because we don't need those. And now I'm going to do the same thing to these little bows. Just pinch in the center, put this in around it. And then a quick straight stitch along the tail. Trim off my strings and my little tail. And here's my cute little bow. And then you can sew these little bows onto your wristlets, but I never do that because I know that sometimes you make a spill on something, and I want to be able to wash these just in case that happens. So what I've decided to do is put a safety pin on the back of these little wristlet bows. Gonna find a good edge here on the front, and then safety pin these wristlet bows in to your little wristlets. Then if you need to wash it, you can take the little bow part off, because your bows, if you wash them, they'll get all floppy and they won't look right. So if you do need to wash your bow, just do it by hand. And then look, you have a fun bow on your wristlets. And I'll do that to the other one. And then I can't wait to put the hair bow on. So I did my makeup based on a couple of other YouTubers, and I watched their tutorials, and then I tried to kind of copy it because I wanted to have blue and purple. So I used kind of what they did. I wanted to do the little heart shape white, and then the little heart shaped nose, and then I added some fun extra things. So that's kind of just what I did for my makeup. I'm sure that Circus Fairy could give me a few extra tips, and I could have turned this up a notch. So I am excited to hopefully hear what maybe she has to say about that. And I also wanted to do an extra bonus DIY and just do a copy of my mask so that I can have a cute mask that I can wear with this outfit. Also, I noticed as soon as after I put these bloomers on and like bent over and bent down the first time, that of course there's going to be a huge tear in this, and that is because our bodies are not flat and we have curves, and I need more fabric in the back section of this seam than in the front. And so what I have decided to do is, see how I can kind of make that a square? Well, I'm going to attach a square piece of fabric into the very center on the inside of these, so that way it won't be noticeable, but it will give that extra space so that you can like pick stuff up off the ground and like move about your normal day. To do the mask, all you have to really start out with is a mask that fits you comfortably. And so I'm using an old mask that I made a while back ago because it fits really nicely. And what I'm gonna do is just make sure that I leave the seam allowance of about ½ inch all the way around, so that I can make sure that I have this extra for sewing. And I am doing this through 4 pieces of fabric. I've just folded a piece of material in half 4 times so that I could do this. This is the square. I'm putting the nice side facing outward. And I'm just going to start at this corner edge here. And I'm going to use clips to like clip these pieces together here. And I just need like 1 on each side of, I just need maybe 2. Yeah, I need 2 on each side to connect all 4 pieces. I always thought that if we made a big enough, pair of shorts that you wouldn't have to add in this little extra piece. But it seems to always need to have this anyway, so I've decided I'm just gonna work with it, put in this extra square from now on. It's much better to do this now than to have your pants bust while you're using them out and about. That unfortunately happened to somebody, and I couldn't fix them until I got home. Poor darling. So now what I'm going to do is, see, I'm going to show you it's pinned now, so it has that gap closed, kind of. And anyway, I'm going to take this edge and sew a zigzag stitch all the way along the edge of the pants itself. Right here. If you can see that. That's the edge I'm going to sew. But I'm just going to attach it to this edge, and then I can clip all the extra material off. In a world filled with expenses, my DIYs are always free, so come on back next week. Thank you so much for watching, and have a joyful day.
Bow, 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 from my head down to my toe. I love my little bow. Bow, 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 everywhere I go. You know I love my bow.